Hello, I'm Ania Lichtarowicz, and this is Somewhere on Earth. It's Wednesday, November the 13th, 2025, and we are at Web Summit Lisbon. On today's show, how to make your data and nature profitable. Yes, you did hear me correctly. Your data can make you money, and along the way it can also help create a clean, green, and personal data safe AI. Nature is valued, but can it be monetized? We find out how shares in the Amazonian rainforest may be on sale as early as next year. Firstly, a clean, green and data-friendly AI. We've reported before on the massive energy use of AI and the environmental impact. But what if there was another way? Janet Adams, COO of SingularityNET, joins us in the podcast booth. Hello. Now, Janet, tell me a little bit about yourself first.
Ania, thank you very much for inviting me onto your show. Hello to your viewers. Janet Adams, COO of SingularityNET and board member of the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. I did my first 2 degrees in the natural sciences. So my first degree was in geology. I actually started out doing an environmental earth science degree, but I switched to pure geology just because of the love of the science. And then petroleum geosciences and exploration was my first master's degree at Imperial College, and I came out of the natural sciences and went into banking, and I worked in banking and technology and risk for 20 years. And in 2017 I got inspired to study for my second master's, which was in artificial intelligence at the University of Essex in the UK, which I studied part-time whilst working full-time in banking at the time. And it takes all my passion for progress, my passion for evolution. So me in tech is a grown-up version of the me that fell in love with evolution in front of a white chalk cliff in Dover, I believe it was, when it suddenly hit me what evolution really is, and that we're at the very, very front. And so I started working in technology and banking, but also once I did my master's degree, I then transitioned into decentralized AI in crypto. And that's where I started working with the amazing Dr. Ben Goertzel and his vision of a decentralized beneficial singularity for the benefit of all humanity, and his incredible team and his incredible scientists. And just we're approaching 2 years ago now, 18 months ago, we conducted a community vote to mint some tokens to invest in hardware. This is where we started moving into the sustainable compute, the green compute space. We formed a partnership with Kudos, which is the biggest high-end compute provider in Web3 for decentralized compute.
This is Kudos Computing.
This is Kudos Compute, indeed. Kudo Compute or Kudos is the Web3 arm. And they're very passionately committed to sustainability of data centers. Now, where we are now, 2025, it's anticipated that by 2030, 60% of the world's power demand will be for AI. Therefore, it's one of there are 2 or 3 massive paradigm shifts or hurdles that we have to get across as humanity over the next 5 to 10 years as we go through this AI revolution. The ethics of the AI, who owns it, and how it behaves, and who it benefits is one of my very big passions and one of our core motives at SingularityNET. But the second is very clearly, how do you make our data centers more sustainable? And this is quite a greenfield site. So we've put our first hardware in Sweden with 100% renewable hydroelectric power, which we're very pleased with and very, very proud. But we're also working, we've got a partnership we have a company in the UK called SingularityNET Energy UK, and we're working with some entrepreneurs who have developed green battery solutions. And we're developing AI optimization techniques. So we're optimizing the battery so that when renewables are high in the grid, it charges, and then when renewables are low, it discharges.
Okay.
And it's quite a greenfield space of technology. Surprisingly, you would think more people would be using AI to optimize data centers and power usage, but there are many techniques we can investigate, like what are the different kinds of AI training and the different kinds of AI inference, and what is the best time relative to the grid and relative to the renewables on the grid to do different AI techniques. And this is the space that we're moving into very strongly with our UK business.
Right, and there was an announcement today that you were involved with, as was Brittany Kaiser, as was Kudos. So tell me about that.
So we're very pleased today to have announced a partnership with AlphaTon Capital, with Vertical Data, who are a GPU financer we've been working with for about 6 months, and with Kudos to support Telegram's Cocoon, which is their AI inferencing and AI service.
This is a service that will be launched very soon.
Very soon, over the next certainly a short few weeks, I would say. And we're for me, it's all about the ethics. That's my bottom line. That's who I am as a leader. That's who I am as a technologist, and that's why I work at SingularityNET. And we have that in common. We have that shared ethics with Brittany Kaiser, CEO of AlphaTon, and her team. She cares so much about privacy, about data ownership, about owning your data, about privacy of your data, about being able to monetize your data if it's your own data, and about ethical and sustainable green AI. So it's a match made in heaven. We're very happy. We know quite a few of her senior team. It's a small world, the technology world in Web3, and we're all we have great respect and affection for each other. But most importantly, we have this shared vision of a positive future. And as Brittany said, I was very inspired by her in that press conference where we met Ania, where she said it's not going to happen by itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is so the point, because I go around the world and everyone wants to have this debate about AI and HEI and will it be ethical and should we be developing it and should we be pausing it, and what it boils down to is no fate but what we make, from to quote Sarah Connor, who's one of my great inspirations in life. We the good-hearted people have to get out there and work, and with 1 billion users on Telegram, clearly there's an opportunity for us to expand our impact at SingularityNET and at the ASI Alliance.
So to explain to our listeners, so Cocoon AI is going to have clean, green energy. The data centers you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation and your technology that's in them is going to be clean energy, right? Number one. And number two, the data that you put in isn't going to be kept by that AI. It's not going to be sold on. It's not going to be used to create new algorithms, etc. So this is the key difference between ChatGPT, your DeepSeeks and Geminis, Copilots, etc., etc. It's going to be different, and that's why you're involved.
That's why we're involved. Thank you. Well put. So it will be different, as Brittany pointed out, from her perspective as trailblazer, pioneer, innovator in data for so many years. With big tech, we are the product. You know, our data goes into making their product, and they sell it back to us, and sell it back to the rest of the world. Whereas in our partnership with AlphaTon and SingularityNET, the data will be ethically owned and will not be used in the same way as big tech use it, simply to create services that they then sell back to us. And another really important distinction is that we're here to make products for everybody, and we're here to make AI and technology for everybody, because big tech pretty much only makes products for the top 1% of earners in the planet, and we both share the cypherpunk ideal of democratizing access to wealth and making our technologies available open source under decentralized governance with decentralized AI and decentralized ethics that consider the needs of the many, not the needs of the few. So it's a beautiful day really for a very strong partnership, because with SingularityNET, we're the OGs of AI on crypto. We launched in 2017, and we're the only credible AI team outside of big tech who has the chance of actually winning this AGI
I was going to
race.
say, there aren't many people who can say that, and you are definitely the front runner, the only people who can actually knock on their door and remind them that you're here.
Well, exactly, and with the right partners, with the right motivations, with the right effort that we're putting in, we have every chance of winning the AGI race. And the AGI race could be winner takes all, whoever invents AGI first. And nobody knows how AGI is going to come out, if it's going to be kind, if it's going to be compassionate, if it's going to be loving and caring to us as humans. But the chances of it being kind and caring when it comes from a company that has the well-being of humanity at the heart of its motives have to be better than a company who has profit in its motives and shareholders. And what I really care about, Brittany and I both spoke about this last night at an event, a side event here in Lisbon at Web Summit. I'm very, very passionate about using our ASI chain, which we're actually going to be announcing at a press conference in 10 minutes' time.
So ASI Chain, explain that to our listeners.
So ASI Chain is a new blockchain, which we released, SingularityNET released at our Beneficial General Intelligence conference in Istanbul 2 weeks ago, and we're sending out a press release about it today. It's a blockchain that's based on a programming language called Rolang, which is based on a system of maths called row calculus, which was developed by a very brilliant mathematician and friend of ours and friend of Ben's called Greg Meredith. And he was a professor at Imperial College, professor of maths, and he was working on the pi calculus, which was developed by a mathematician called Robin Milne, and Robin won a Nobel Prize for it. But Greg found some issues, inconsistencies in the maths, and developed his own version called row calculus. And what row calculus and then Rolang, the computing language, does is it provides concurrent processing. So it brings blockchain into concurrency instead of sequential processing.
Okay.
And what that means in practice for application and for your listeners is that it's the only blockchain we know of that scales. So whenever you add a new hardware to it, it gets faster. Ethereum gets slower when you add new hardware to it. Other blockchains get slower because of this sequential processing. Because it's got concurrent processing, it's scalable. It can process 100,000 transactions per second, which is Visa level.
That's huge.
And it's programmable. It's got object capabilities, and we're using our in-house Meta, METTA, functional AI programming language to program the smart contracts that sit on top of this concurrent blockchain layer. And what that all means is, and what I'm very excited by is, we have a technology now which is scalable, secure, private, programmable, and AI ready for AI to AI interactions. It has asynchronous messaging between its nodes in the blockchain. What that means is we now have actually the perfect technology for very, 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 very cheap and effective financial services.
And
so we can,
I assume, cleaner and greener.
Cleaner and greener because the processing is so much more efficient. And with that, we can now roll out banking to the 1.4 billion unbanked people on the planet because at almost no cost. So a major change. So the the cost of the technology is incremental and tiny compared to what a bank costs to do lending or insurance products or just plain bank accounts or payment products. All the basic products that people need for their lives to be successful and to raise themselves out of extreme poverty. There's 2 billion people in extreme poverty on the planet. There's another 1.4 billion unbanked, 1 billion underbanked, 2 billion in extreme poverty. And what Brittany and I are actually both really, really excited by is bringing all of the technology and our partnership and the Cocoon AI cluster to sit underneath it, along with SingularityNET's hardware, along with Kudos compute and their decentralized hardware, and actually get out there over the next few years and make wide sweeping dramatic changes in the living conditions of the people on the planet who most need it. And then once we've got them up and running on blockchain and banked, we will tackle world hunger. We can do education for SMEs, microfinancing for female-led startups. We can just uplift economies, and that's what we're here for. That's what it's all about. And now, with today's announcement and this partnership, putting together 1 billion users on Telegram, with our very, very advanced AI and our green compute, we're positioned to just have impact and contribute.
Janet Adams, you must come back on again and tell us how that blockchain is going, certainly, and Cocoon AI as well, and your involvement in that. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule at Web Summit, and we hope to see you again soon.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you to your listeners, and thank you to you for hosting me and all your team. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you here in Lisbon.
Imagine that you could buy a share of the Amazon rainforest. Well, next year that may be possible. Olga Sitnik, CEO of Awaken, is making this possible. Olga, thank you for joining us on Somewhere on Earth. Firstly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Olga. I'm Ukrainian, but the last 5 years I live in Peru, between the capital Lima and Amazon rainforest. In Ukraine, before I moved to Peru, I have 15 years of environmental governance. I was serving as the vice governor of the state and then the advisor to the president's office on environmental policy. And before this, I was having my big data automated business of automated systems, national scale, and I was featured 30 before 30 in Forbes for this. So this is my small intro, and now I'm building the company Awaken in Peru.
So tell me about Awaken.
So Awaken is the company which has the big vision. We believe that to save the forests and to resolve the climate risks that we have, the only way to do this is to make the nature profitable. Why? Because if you see, for example, the living tree in the forest, standing in the forest, so this tree has exactly zero value.
Yeah.
And if you see the products from the tree which is cut, it obviously has the value, like the furniture, the pencil, so you pay for this. So the question is rhetorical. Can something that doesn't have the value really be protected? And the answer is also obvious. So for us, the best solution after all these discussions about, protecting the nature and protecting the forest, so the real solution is to make this living nature profitable. And then the question comes how we make this profitable. So for this, we have to use the AI, obviously, we have to use the blockchain, we have to use the IoT, and this will allow us to really do this.
Now, again, I say to our listeners, bear with us, because I think it's getting rather exciting over at stage 4 behind us. I just look behind and the lights are certainly changing and the music is loud. So tell me now, how are you going to be able to sell shares in the Amazon? Who owns it? I assume it's the government or local authorities?
This is exactly the first problem, because if you think, okay, we want to make profit from the nature in the sustainable way without extracting it. So the first question we ask, but who owns the nature? And the problem is that 90%, 90, of the ownership of the nature in the world belongs to government and indigenous communities. So basically when we hear about the carbon credit market, about the environmental data, we always hear about those 10% which is in the private ownership. So no one was trying to unlock the 90% because obviously you have to deal with the government.
Yes.
So how we are doing this? Because I have the profound experience in the government, I know the logic of the government, I know what the government wants and what the government needs. So here we apply two solutions. The first solution we apply is the legal mechanism, which is innovative. What is this legal mechanism? We are structuring the shares of to issue the shares of the nature. We are making the SPV, special purpose vehicle, because we are having the technological podcast, I think the audience will know it. So the special purpose vehicle is the company incorporated in one of the jurisdictions like Dubai, Singapore, Malta or Switzerland, because in those jurisdictions you are allowed to tokenize your natural assets or real estate. So in the other countries, like for example Peru or in other European countries or United States, in the United States you're allowed to do this in Delaware. So this is the fifth jurisdiction to do this. So those jurisdictions will allow us to tokenize the long-term co-management contracts over the natural assets. So what we will do physically, we will sign the contract with the government, who is the owner of the natural assets, with a private company who will co-own this forest or river or ocean for the next 30, 50 or 100 years.
Okay.
And those contracts will be tokenized in those jurisdictions which allow it. So the result of this is we'll be able to issue the digital shares of the, for example, Amazon rainforest or of the Great Australian Barrier Reef. So people will be legal co-owners of the nature, and people will be able to receive the income from the nature for the next 40, 50 or
so the
100 years.
The government will still own it in effect.
The government
will share in their own.
They will share. I will give you this example. It's not technical example, but this example which inspired me to apply this legal model. So you know that Amazon rainforest is mostly indigenous communities. So though this was one indigenous communities of Kokamas, and the women of Kokamas were fighting against the oil company which was polluting the river Marañón. And they went to the court. So the court made the historical decision. The court told that the Kokama women, the court appointed Kokama women as the legal representatives of the Marañón River, being able to take the decisions on behalf of the Marañón River. So basically it's like you have the kid who is less than 18 years old and you are the parent who is able to take decision for this. It's the same. So this court decision splitted the ownership of the nature from the right to decide what will happen to this nature. So basically our legal model is based exactly on this concept. Okay. So the government is the owner of the nature, but the government is not anymore deciding what will happen with this nature.
Okay, so they're giving those rights away by
digitalizing and issuing the shares of the nature. Okay. But the people who are purchasing those shares, they can use this nature only in sustainable way, not extractable. So basically, probably the next question you will ask me, Olga, but from where is the income, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're saying buy shares in the Amazon, but how do I get money from the Amazon through those shares?
And this is the point. This is the point. You have to get money from this. Yeah. Because if you get money from this, it makes the value. If it makes the value, believe me, you will protect it. You know, it will be not destroyed. Because the more healthy is the rainforest, the more money you get. This is the point. So how you make the money? Basically, you make the money from the financial instruments, the same instruments that you have in the stock market. We are talking about climate bonds, resilience bonds, carbon credits, water credits, biodiversity credits. So basically this is or trading of ecological data. To be able to create those financial instruments, so we will apply the digital MRV, which is measurement, verification and reporting system, installing in the physical forest the network of the on-ground sensors which are capable to measure different parameters of the ecosystem. For example, today the government of Peru or of any other country is capable to measure only from 30 to 50 parameters. We'll be able to measure 1,500 parameters because of the technologies we will apply.
Wow. So that's quite a difference.
Exactly. And those parameters will be measured in the real time, while the nowadays government is capable to measure once a year, maybe twice a year, the maximum. So then we will build the AI pipeline or protocols that actually we have our patent already filed for this invention. We will connect this data from the ground with the governmental historical data that they were recording for the past 20 years and that we have also pre-agreed with the government we have access to about how the ecosystem was, or what parameters of the ecosystem they were measuring. And we will integrate this data with the NVIDIA's Earth 2, which is the digital twin of the Earth that NVIDIA is building, and the AI climate prediction tools and the forest fires prediction tools they're building. Why NVIDIA is interested in our product? Because they need to train their AI model, and they have only satellite data. This data is very high quality.
So you'll be providing a completely new data set.
Exactly. We'll be providing to complete their data set. But the result of this will be that we will be able to create what is called the digital twin of the Amazon rainforest.
Wow.
So basically, for the person who is not familiar with this, imagine the video game, right? In the video game, you're walking, you're seeing like the corridors or the infrastructure. The same you're walking in the video game, the same you will be able to enter and to walk through the rainforest. So if it's raining and the level of water is growing, you will see it in the kind of video game or like video.
The twin model.
The twin model, exactly. So if some branch broke from the tree, you'll be able to see this in the twin model. Because we'll be using the LiDARs with the models, which will scan the rainforest in the ongoing basis. So basically, one time a day, you will renew your digital twin. It's not real time, but it's close to real time. But the parameters that we will be measuring will be going to real time. And the other exciting technology that is recent actually we'll be using, it's called the eDNA. Basically now, for example, to be able to know what kind of animals or what kind of species of birds you have in the rainforest, you have to set up the camera traps, you have to go physically to the forest to see those animals. But we will be using the method which is called eDNA, as I told you. So basically you take the small amount of water from the river and decipherating the DNA, you know from bacteria to big animals, all the biodiversity on this specific territory.
And that's just in water samples now.
It's just from the small.
The tech is so good now that you can just get it from water samples. So you don't have to go and collect feces or anything like that.
Absolutely,
wow.
Absolutely. And we are expecting that we will discover a lot of new species because even now, without the technologies, about every week in Amazon rainforest, the scientists are discovering the new species of birds, of plants, of animals.
And this is a collaboration, isn't it, between Ukrainian scientists and the Peru Rainforest University, is that correct? Tell me exactly who's involved.
Okay, so basically we are the private company and we are cooperating with the Peruvian government, with the Ministry of Environment. The next year, 2026, the Ministry of Environment will give us 500,000 hectares. It's like 3 times size of Malta, for example. It's like the huge amount of primary rainforest where we will deploy the sensor network. So we are cooperating with the Peruvian government and also they're providing us the access to the data sets. In the scientific part, our scientific team is from Ukraine and those are the scientists who were deploying the eDNA and the sensor network for the last years, and also the University of Peruvian Amazon, which is the leading scientific institution in the Amazon rainforest in Peru. And why it's important? Because we have access to their laboratories, to their plant cloning laboratories, to their eDNA decipherating laboratories. You know, they have a very great equipment that, for example, American government is providing, but they're lacking the knowledge, scientific knowledge, how to make this equipment really, really useful, that we will provide them with Ukrainian scientists.
So next year you're hoping to start selling these digital shares, these digital tokens.
Exactly. So we are planning to start in year 2026. Now we're finishing the investment round as the private company. To finish fundraising $15 million, we need to implement this pilot. This is expensive because it's the climate deep tech, so we do need a lot of sensors and technology.
It's quite a lot of money, isn't it?
It is, but if you evaluate the price of the data and of the environmental credits we will generate, so this price go at least to $42 million that we have the pre-signed agreement with the Singapore government who is able to purchase it. So it sounds a lot, but if you think about 500,000 hectares of the Amazon rainforest, you have to equip and test
it is a big investment.
Exactly.
You need a lot of kit.
Exactly. Our plan, yes, is to finish the fundraising, to implement the pilot, and at the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027 to issue the first digital shares of the Amazon rainforest that hopefully anyone can purchase just from your cell phone in 1 minute. This is our idea. No borders, no compliance, no bureaucratic obstacles. Just in one click, you become the co-owner of the forest.
How do you buy it? Are you going to have an app?
Of course, we are building the app. Like you want to buy the stocks from the stock market, you know. So you have the Robinhood app or any other app. You just go and in one click you buy the shares of the Microsoft, of Google, or of the Amazon. Yes. In the same way, you'll be able to buy the shares of the Amazon rainforest.
And what kind of returns can people expect?
We will be proving the model now, but we plan to sell 1 hectare. Well, it's not the rights; it's co-ownership rights. Like the co-ownership rights of 1 hectare of the rainforest for $100 for 30 or 40 years, and the income or returns is expected between $7 to $15 per hectare. So basically, it's not that you will make like 10x, you know, but for sure you will recover your investments in about 5-7 years, and then for the next years you will make stable
money.
Income from your investment. So the goal is not to make like the X's, you know, it's not something that you can earn money fast, but the goal is to let people invest into the nature and receive the stable, normal profit from this nature in the long-term perspective. So this is this kind of model.
Buying shares as you do. Hopefully next year you'll be ready to go. And ultimately, how much do you think this will protect the rainforest?
This is a very good question. Look, now, for example, how the rainforest is protected. For example, I was going to discover this model. I was not sitting in the office in Ukraine or in Lima in Europe. I spent 3 years going through Amazon rainforest, living in indigenous communities. I was seeing how actually the rainforest is protected. So I give you just one example from which you will understand the scope of the problem. For example, you have 200,000 hectares, which is twice like Malta, of the rainforest, which belongs with the private title to one indigenous tribe of 400 people. So this tribe has absolutely no financial support from the government, and they make the budget from 100 families $1 per month to have the budget of this community. So it's $100 per month. And they have to protect this twice size Malta rainforest from the corporations who want to burn it and make the Cattling field or whatever business or plant the palm oil plantations. So basically, if we don't provide to those indigenous communities the tools how to protect the rainforest will be destroyed. So with the money that people will be purchasing the shares, the part of the money will directly go to the indigenous communities, letting them to protect the rainforest. Also, when we will equip the forest with the on-ground sensors, we will equip with the sound sensors. It means that whoever wants to go and to cut the tree illegally in the wood, this is also the great problem, we will hear immediately through the sensors. We will have the monitoring with the drones 24 hours per day, and we will send the operational group there just to stop the illegal logging. So when we were making the estimations and calculations, applied digital monitoring will decrease the illegal logging by 70% at least. Also, part of the money that people will be spending to buy the shares of the nature will be spent to recover the biodiversity. So we also expect that biodiversity in these areas can be recovered by 30-40% at least in 3-4 years perspective. So all those problems that we see now with the ecosystems, by pouring private money into those ecosystems with the instrument of issuing the shares, will actually protect those ecosystems from being destroyed. So besides of the fact that it's like very virtual platform and technological project, behind the scene we have a lot of on-ground work going on with basically protecting the forest. And the good thing in this that you can sit, for example, in your office in London and you can enter the forest you co-own in the real time and you can see how this forest is protected and you can see with the numbers how the health of this forest is improving and how much clean air this forest is generating and how much clean water this forest is providing and how much it protects us from the floods, for example, or other ecosystem services that it's giving. So you Obviously, you have the digital forest, and you pour your private money to protect it.
Olga Sitnik, CEO of Awaken, thank you so much for joining us on Somewhere on Earth. And that is it for this week's episode. Just a little reminder that we are part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Our sponsors are Sasians and Bruce. Our production manager is Liz Tuohy. I'm the editor. If you want to contact us, drop us an email, hello@somewhereonearth.co. And we will see you, we'll hear you next week. Bye-bye.